Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Welcome to the You're OK Mental Fitness Studio. I would like to thank our sponsors, Ned Siegfried, Luke Peterson, and Todd Bradford with Siegfried and Jensen, Mark Richards with Wasatch Recovery, Colby and Mackenzie with Thread Wallets, Drew Peterson with First Digital, Greg Jackson with Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, and Travis Whitaker, the owner of Living Recovery Interventions. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Paul Cardall. The music that you hear at the beginning and the ending of these episodes is by Paul Cardall. He's an amazing person, and he's been one of my heroes for years. So thanks to all my sponsors and Paul Cardall for believing in me. I love you guys so much. Please enjoy this next episode. We are back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Like I said, thank you to all the sponsors that I just mentioned, and thank you guys for tuning in and for believing in me. This has been such an amazing experience over the last 5 or 6 years in doing this. I get to meet with some amazing people. Today is no different. I'm working with a colleague of mine, Megan Smart-Relf. Megan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I've known Megan for actually longer than I thought, right?
Right.
She used to play with my daughter at my house when she was, how old were you guys?
Me and Kennedy knew each other, we went to school together from first grade till sixth grade, so all of elementary school.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that until later, and you told me that. I thought, oh, wow.
Right,
I hope I was nice to you.
The first time I meet you, it's Kennedy's dad, and now it's like, oh, now we work together. It's great.
So, we worked together for a few years now. Mm-hmm. And you're currently one of our therapists here. You're a certified social worker.
Right.
And you're an amazing person. I was talking about this before we got on, but I love the way you carry yourself, the way you treat people, the way you just, you love life, you're happy, and you really do a great job with these clients that we're working with who are really going through some hard times, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But a little background on you. You have 5 siblings, and
mm-hmm.
You're the youngest, and there's a big gap between the next one.
I'm the caboose.
How many? Like, how many years is the?
12 years. 12.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep. My mom calls me a extra special surprise. So.
I like that extra special for sure. Well, so you played soccer and you ended your career on the collegiate level. Mm-hmm. That says a lot about you. That's not an easy thing to do, and that's pretty amazing. You graduated with your bachelor's in psychology with a certificate of applied positive psychology from the University of Utah, and then you quickly jumped into social work, the program at UVU,
right,
during which you endured a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. You experienced a pregnancy. You welcomed your firstborn while all still managing to graduate at the top of her class. Again, I forgot to mention she's very smart, and her name, it's actually in her name. So, but that's really cool. You have just a deep love and connection with relationships with those around you, especially your husband, Devin, and your new daughter.
Yes.
She's beautiful, by the way. She's such a beautiful.
She's my girl.
So there's a lot to talk about here. Why don't we start, Megan? Tell us about being the caboose and being the youngest of all your siblings and all that stuff. Talk about that.
So I grew up. I have a weird dynamic, but it's one that I wouldn't change for the world, but it's one that I've had to kind of come to terms with in a roundabout way.
Okay.
All of my siblings, I love them dearly. I am blessed to have a relationship with all of them and a unique relationship with all of them. But growing up, I was kind of being raised by my siblings while also being a sibling. So it's kind of weird, but sure. I feel like it made me grow up faster, and it kind of made me realize what was important, because if I wanted to have a relationship with them, I mean, they were off doing what they wanted to do.
Right,
so if I wanted a relationship with them, I had to make it happen.
Put the effort into doing that. So how were you as a kid? Were you, the soccer player kind of athletic type, or what were some of the things you were into?
I've played soccer for as long as I can remember. I still play soccer. I still have that itch that I scratch, and I will go play indoor, and it does the job. But as a kid, I just loved to like have fun and be around my friends. At recess, I was doing anything I could do. Like I was trying to make as many friends as I could, be around as many people as I could, just because I loved having that connection and that sense of like community. I didn't know it at the time that that's what it was, but I loved just being around people.
Okay. Yeah, and you can tell that just with you here. You know, you definitely love people and you love helping people. That's why you're really good at what you do. So maybe what are some of the struggles growing up, you know, that you maybe gone through? You know, we all have our struggles, right? But what were some of the things that you kind of wrestled with and endured? Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny that you bring this up because, I mean, we were talking, I'm moving soon. So I was going through like old journals that I found, and I found one last night, and it was from my childhood, like a time in my life where a lot was happening and not necessarily like great things, like more trials than anything. Yeah. And during middle school, it was like trial after trial. I felt like I was sexually assaulted at school.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a weird thing looking back on it now, because I felt like I'd say everyone, and it was more just like the people that I thought were most important to me kind of turned against me and got mad at me for creating this situation that I felt like I was doing the right thing. Right. But in my mind, like my whole world was altered because all of my friends were now mad at me for something that I had no control over. And so that was going on. Yeah, wow. So I switched schools to get away from all of that. Yeah. While switching schools, I remember so vividly, one day I was laying on the couch, and Wendy was living with us at the time. Okay. She was talking to my mom, and like the way the couch was organized, you can't see me laying down. So she's talking to my mom, and all I remember her saying is like, what about Megan? Like, she's only 14. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, one of my parents is dying. Yeah. So I sat up and I was like, what is going on? And I ran outside because my mom was crying. And so it just didn't sit well with me. Yeah, right. I'm in my Hello Kitty pajamas, like sobbing on the curb, like just had no idea what was going on, but trying to make sense of what I had heard. And Wendy comes out and puts her arm around me and kind of explains that, hey, mom's sick. We don't know how serious it is yet, but this is what's going on. And just my life was like altered. Yeah. Long story short, like my mom is just fine now. Like she's healthy as she can be. Yeah. She's wonderful and like best case scenario. But at the time I thought I was losing my mom, and my mom was like my best friend. She still is. So yeah, it was a lot to handle. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, so when you switched schools because of what happened at the, junior high is a minefield, isn't it? I mean, everyone's trying to, we're clueless and we're trying to figure ourselves out. But was that I would imagine that was not only tough, but were you going through were you feeling like depressed or sad and those kind of emotions?
Absolutely. I felt like I had no friends. Like in this journal that I found, I think I wrote like, it's so weird to be a part of a school that has 1,500 kids and feel so alone. Oh my gosh, so I remember coming home from school and just crying in my room because it was like, I didn't know what to do to make it right. Because here I am hurting from the situation, but also hurting that I don't know how to fix it. Yeah.
That and think about it. I mean, friends at that age means everything. Everything. And it does feel probably very lonely, wow. So you switch schools though, and you obviously thankfully your mom's okay. You go on to high school, and I'm assuming you played high school soccer and that kind of thing. So what was high school like?
You didn't. Soccer.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, I did my freshman year. Yeah. I did my freshman year, but then I transferred to Corner Canyon, and then I transferred to Alta. So transferring around doesn't make for easy playing sports. It doesn't. So yeah.
Dang, I didn't realize that. So you transferred. Why were you transferring? Is it just again just struggling with those things?
Right. So I transferred to my home school, like where I would have gone to school. Okay. And thinking that everything would have blown over, kids would be nice again. Sure enough, it was not the case. If anything, I felt like it was much worse. Like I just felt like I could not get on the good side of everyone, and I was doing everything. And I just kind of exhausted myself. My house was getting egged. I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I had one solid friend at Alta that I was like, if I go there, I'll have him and it will be fine. And sure enough, Alta was like the place for me to be. So that's where I went.
So that had to have been really difficult as well. I mean, again, it's like a reminder of what you were struggling with in the first place. How did you handle that? I mean, yes, you transferred schools because you're like, okay, this is an option that will be better.
Right.
But I mean, how are you dealing with that as a kid? I mean, because I think a lot of people listening to this can probably relate because of what they maybe went through.
Right. I don't think I did deal with it until like much later when it all kind of caught up with me. I kind of just put on a brave face because I was like, if anybody knows that I'm struggling with this, it gives them more reason to gang up on me. Is how I felt. That's the story I told myself anyway.
Yeah.
And so I just went about my life, tried to be as nice to everybody as possible because I wanted them to be nice to me too. Like I just kind of followed the golden rule, treat everybody how you want to be treated. And that's kind of just how I went about it. And I had friends, but I always kind of felt like I was like on the outside or the backup friend, but I just did my best. And I loved high school. Once I got to Alta, I enjoyed it, but I don't know. I just did my best, really.
So, and then was your plan in your mind though, that you still wanted to play soccer, knowing that, hey, maybe I'll try out and hopefully, make the team in college and that. So obviously talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So soccer was another struggle. I would find a team and I would love that team and I would do well on that team, and and then the team would split up, or we would go separate ways, or they'd want to go to a different club. And I kind of was like trying to hold on to anything community wise that I could have. And so I remember my senior year, like I was desperate to play soccer. That's what I wanted to do, as my dream. And so I had the intention of going down to Dixie, which is now Utah Tech, but I was going to go play soccer down there and live with my brother and have that whole thing work out. And for whatever reason, it just actually what it was is I had a game one day, and it was like one of my last games, and I was like, this is like my last chance to really like find a recruiter. And the coach from Slick came to the game and was telling us that he's trying to put together a team because it's going to be the first team at Slick that's like in their what was, I don't even remember what it's called, but like their JUCO league, the SWAC was what it was.
The SWAC.
Yeah. Super cool. Yeah. So he's like giving a spiel, and I was like, for whatever reason, I felt like that was the move for me. And so I remember I played one of the best games of my life that game. I walked off the field and I was like, I'm the coolest. Like, and that doesn't happen often, but I felt like, yep, I showed up. I did my best. And sure enough, he was like, yep, come play for me. So it was an answer to my prayers in a weird way. Yeah.
Well, it was probably kind of even validated because of all the struggles you had gone through, people, not liking you, that kind of stuff. But that had to felt so good that even though you showed up and you shined, despite the struggles that you had been going through, because you easily could have said, I'm not trying out because no one likes me. That same kind of story, right? But that's a really cool thing that you actually were willing to do that. Yeah. Vulnerability, right?
Vulnerability.
Very cool. So, before we get into what you're doing now and all the great things you're doing, what do you see, like, obviously being a girl growing up, what do you see that these young girls are struggling with that you can relate to, and even the clients that you even deal with to this day? What are you seeing?
Oh, so much. Being a girl is so hard.
I always say I'm glad I'm a guy.
But there are unique struggles that women endure, and it's like not an easy feat. But so before I worked here, I worked at a middle school, elementary school, and high school. And I worked with kids, really. So the girls that I would work with especially, and I coached on the high school soccer team. And body image, oh my gosh, mean girls, like, and social media adds a whole nother taste to that I was kind of on the cusp of. But now it's blown out of proportion, where like any insecurity that you have is like magnified times 10. So if you have like a crooked tooth, it's more than just a crooked tooth. If you have like any sort of little thing.
And you're saying because of social media, it's just magnified it even more, because it's always an issue. It has been, it seems like, but you're saying because of social media, you see more, just it's more intense, I guess.
Yeah. And there's another element of bullying now that like you can hide behind a screen. So people get mean, and it gets harsher now. Yeah. So you were kind of at the beginning stages of that when you were at that age, or that time in your life. So how do these girls combat that? I mean, because
I think it's almost probably universal. It seems like most girls struggle with their body image. Guys do too.
Right.
Not
right,
to say we don't.
absolutely.
I've had my issues with it myself growing up. But what do you do? Like, what is there any solution to any of this?
I'm still working on it, to be totally transparent. Like, I have my days where I come home and I'm like, I look like I just ate nothing but cookies for 10 days straight. And sometimes that might be true. I love cookies, but like, it's so hard to like look in the mirror and not like how you look. But I tried my best to live by this quote. It's the least interesting thing about you is your body. Like when you are trying, or when you're describing somebody or trying to like, if I were to tell you about any woman, the last thing I would describe or say about her is her body. Or I guarantee that if you were to go talk to someone about me, you would talk about my body. So I have to constantly remind myself that the least interesting thing about me is how I look.
Wow.
There's so much more to a person than what is just on the outside. It goes so much deeper than that. And I think that's something that I have to keep on the forefront of my mind. That's something I tell my clients to keep on the forefront of their mind, is that how you look is the last thing that people think about you.
Yeah. I love that. The least interesting thing about me is my body. Wow. I like that. I've never heard that before. And I love that. So I mean, this is a big question. I know what I'm going to ask. We're kind of taking a little detour here, but
bring it on.
what can a parent do who has girls? I had 3 girls growing up, and I did my best as a dad to try to make them sure that hey, you're perfect as you are, that kind of thing. I did my best. I'm sure I screwed up here and there, but
how dare you?
Yeah, I know. What would you say a parent could do who may be listening to this right now that they could maybe help their daughters that are struggling with that?
I think honestly, just talking about it, I think there's such a taboo thing of like, you don't want to make it worse by shedding light on it, but so you're just going to kind of avoid it with a lot. That's how it is with a lot of things. But also just not making the body image the main topic of conversation. Like, compliment them on their intelligence, compliment them on how hard they worked on this assignment, compliment them on just about anything other than how they look. Because if that's all they're getting attention for, that's all that's going to matter to them, you know?
Yeah, right. That's interesting you say that, because I won't mention which daughter of mine said this, but I'd always, tell her, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful. And I thought as a dad, I'm doing the right thing here, right? It wasn't until she was older, she said, that put a lot of pressure on me. I'm like, it did? What do you mean? You're beautiful. In my eyes, you're the most beautiful thing ever. But I didn't realize the pressure, because she took it as, well, I've got to make sure I'm always beautiful, I guess. But as a dad, that was my intent. And it was just an eye opener for me. Like, wow, it's interesting how they can take words or phrases and you think it's the right thing, but they're taking it differently. I didn't realize that.
Right.
So I think communicating more on a authentic level, instead of always saying you're so beautiful, it's like, hey, you're one of the smartest kids I know, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. And even like I've talked to the clients about this frequently. Just when you have a kid, kids are so much more intelligent than we give them credit for sometimes.
Yeah.
If you ask your child what they need, 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you. Like if they're feeling left out, if they feel like their friend is leaving them out, or they're having a hard time at school, they're not feeling smart, like they will tell you what they need. And so when they tell you, give that to them. Like if they need to feel like they're intelligent, compliment them when they're doing things that show their intelligence.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like the love languages, right? Like if they need something and you're giving them something else, it just doesn't add up.
No, that's good advice. I like that a lot. Well, we mentioned, the last couple of years, you've been very busy with a lot of things going on in your life.
Right.
But before we get to that, what made you decide, like you knew that maybe, hey, I want to be a therapist and help people in that area? What made you kind of go down that road?
Oh, man. Why did I? No, I have forever, as long as I can remember, wanted to be in a career where I am helping people. So before I wanted to be a therapist, I wanted to be a special education teacher. Like I've always had this, I hate to say calling, but kind of like calling to be in the service of my fellow people. Yeah. Because I know how hard it is to be a human being in this world. Like, so if I can put my struggles aside and help somebody or relate to somebody with what I've been through, I feel like that's like, how much better of a life can you live than when you are connecting with people and helping them be better while also bettering yourself? Yeah.
And that's kind of when you knew, hey, I want to maybe go into that area.
Well, so interesting enough, in that journal I found the other night, like I talked about how in junior high, I think I was in, probably like 8th grade, I heard about this girl who was struggling with like an eating disorder, and it kind of, gossip in junior high school. So I took it to the guidance counselor and I was like, can I sit down with her and just let her know that I am here for her and like want to be her friend? And I think honestly, that was the first time that I really like loved the therapy setting, because I kind of got to sit in on him doing therapy with her. And I was like, oh, this is cool. You're talking to her all cool. Like, let me do that. Yeah. Right. Wow. But I just loved the feeling that I got after of like, I can be there for her. I can be her friend.
Yeah. Wow. Well, so you've always been nice. It seems like, I mean, seriously, you're one of the nicest people I've ever met. I mean that honestly. And that's really cool that you had that, that, part of you that says, hey, I want to help this girl, at that age. A lot of kids wouldn't say that. Yeah. They might think it, but to actually go follow through with it's pretty impressive. So let's talk about these last couple of years. You've been through a lot.
Let's do it.
You had a miscarriage. But then you got pregnant again. You got a beautiful daughter, which we talked about. You're married now, and you're getting in a new home in a few weeks, and you got a lot going on.
Bring it on, yeah.
Talk about that challenge, because I know how I just witnessed just watching you talking about it, not to me, but to other people about how scared you were when you were pregnant with your current daughter, Luella.
Yes.
I was way off.
No, you're good.
Luella. We got a
There's
lot
another
of
Lila.
There's another Lila. That's where it is.
Yep.
So. But I know how nervous you were, like, oh my gosh. And so talk about that experience.
Whew. Okay. So I'm going to touch on my miscarriage, because I feel like that was one of my life altering moments. So Devin's my husband. He's the love of my life. Love him so much.
Yeah.
We got pregnant beginning of 2021, and we were ecstatic. Like, we were like, woo, because we had just barely decided that we wanted to start trying. We get pregnant. And we're like, okay, cool. It was meant to be,
that was easy.
Yeah. What are people talking about? This is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
No. And then, so we had gone through the process of telling like all of our close family and friends that we were pregnant, and we were really excited and starting to like really picture our life with a child.
Yeah.
And I was playing indoor soccer. Devin and I were on a co-ed team, and it was first trimester, so they say that you're okay to continue to play. So I played, and I left the soccer field, came off, and immediately just got hit with this feeling of like, okay, something is not right.
Really?
So I went into the bathroom and felt like I was miscarrying, like showed signs of a miscarriage.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, my sister-in-law was on our team, and she is a nurse practitioner. And so she came up, and because I came out just frantic. I was like, Devin, I'm miscarrying, like we gotta go. And she was like, slow down, like what's going on? And she kind of just calmed me down, and I'm so grateful that she was there. It was a blessing in disguise, truthfully.
Sure, yeah.
And so we kind of wrap up, and I go home, and I laid in bed, and I was like, I am not moving. Like, if there is any chance that I'm miscarrying, I'm not moving. Like, no way. Dang. And so I laid in bed, didn't shower, like all sweaty, just slept in my sweat. And I was like, nope. So woke up the next morning, and I was like, no, something is not right. So I texted my other sister-in-law, who's PA, and she told me to go to the emergency room. So I did. They ran every test, did everything they could, and they came back and said, I have a 50-50 chance of this pregnancy sticking ultimately. And so I was like, well, what can I do? And they're like, just wait. I was like, are you kidding?
Like really, that's the advice? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I go home for the next 3 days, because I was on a Friday. I go home. So until Monday, because I was supposed to have my 8-week appointment the following week. And so I was like, I just got to make it to that appointment.
Yeah.
Go home, and for the whole weekend, I was praying. I was laying up, like just not doing anything. And then Monday, I came to work because it was Wendy's birthday. So like, I gotta come to work. And I was a mess. Like, I was just holding it together. Yeah. We had nothing but cakes. That put some glue. Like, it was helping, Yeah. And I get home, and I was talking to Devin, and I was like, I just, like, I anything I can do. And so went to bed that night, and I had a dream that I miscarried. And I woke up and got hit with the worst pain I have ever felt. And so then, so sure enough, go into the bathroom, and I had miscarried. Oh. And I think like that whole experience is something that does not get talked about. I had no idea that that's what it was like, Yeah. And it was traumatic, because it's like, here you have this, what was supposed to be your baby, and you're just supposed to let it go, and
right. Yeah. You don't think of that.
No.
No one talks about that.
Right. So I had this like internal conflict of like, what just happened? Like, how is this? I was so happy 10 days ago, and now I'm like the complete opposite. And so I was a mess, to say the very least. And I went into like, there is something wrong with me. Like I brought this on. I don't deserve to be a mom. Like I completely spiraled, and like just went into my shame cycle. Honestly, any insecurity that I ever had came out in the worst way. But luckily working here, you don't get to really like, you get like, you can't be a hypocrite working here, or else you just feel out of sorts, you know? So I went home one day and just like sat with myself, and I was like, hey, we gotta change something, because I'm not gonna have what I want if I'm sitting with all of this shame.
Right. Yeah.
So I sat in front of the mirror. You'd be so proud of me.
Yeah.
Sat in front of the mirror and just told myself, like, no, I am capable. I can do this.
Love that.
My trials don't make me weak. They make me stronger. Like, they are a blessing in disguise. Like, just told myself everything that I know I needed to hear. And sure enough, like a month later, get pregnant again. And I know that's no coincidence. Like,
wow.
And so, and my daughter being like the amazing little girl that she is, I like will start crying just even talking about her. She is my everything. Yeah. And to me, like, just looking at her, like, she is proof that you can't have anything bad happen to you when you're believing in yourself and you're doing what you're supposed to.
Wow. You make me cry. Man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she is beautiful. And you know, you would for sure always love her, but it's probably even more intensified, obviously, after what you just went through.
Right.
Right. And what I love, and you did make my day when you said you're in front of that mirror, because people kind of poo-poo it sometimes, like, oh, affirmations, really?
Right.
But the way I look at that is that, Megan, you're
gotcha.
in trouble. is that you're challenging the darkness by bringing light into your life.
Right.
When you say those things. And that's why it feels so awkward. It's like, okay, this is weird. If someone saw me doing this, they're going to think I'm crazy. Right. But I love that you did that, and how that just, maybe hopefully set the tone moving forward. Right. It sounds like, wow. Yeah. And that just came to my mind right then about you were challenging the darkness by bringing light by saying those things.
Exactly.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Dang. Well, you have this beautiful baby. You're married to Devin. You guys are just awesome together. You're getting in a new place. You're here at Wasatch Recovery as one of our therapists, and we love you, and you do such great work here.
Thank you.
What are some of the biggest maybe lessons you've learned by working here at Wasatch? Just, because we get all kinds of different clients here.
We get the whole, we get everybody. Oh my goodness, I can't say how much I love working here enough. Like, if anything, I just have learned how important it is to genuinely be vulnerable and show up as yourself. Because I think that's what we preach more than anything, is that when you surrender yourself and when you are vulnerable and you are absolutely honest with who you are to your core, like, there's no shame in that. You can't reject somebody being completely authentically themselves. And so if I've learned anything, it's that every single person is worthy of being loved because they are themselves. It's such a blessing to work here and get to see so many different people, but them all be worthy of the same connection as the next person.
Love that. You can't reject someone who's being authentic and vulnerable. That is beautiful. You should trademark that thing. That's beautiful. What have been some of the surprises or challenges that you're like, whoa, I didn't know about this, or anything surprise you? Or
so when I first started working here, I think the thing that I had to learn the most that kind of surprised me is that, like, I can be my person and have my experiences and have somebody else have a completely different experience, a different opinion, a different, and we can still connect. We can still get along. I can still appreciate them as an individual, and they can appreciate me. I can set aside my personal beliefs, my personal stances, and still love them for everything that they've been through and appreciate their experience as just as valid as mine.
Sure. I'm going to ask you a really personal question.
Bring it.
So you're a woman of faith.
Yes.
How has your faith buried you up and all of this stuff, and just why is it so important to you?
Wow, that's a fun question. I think if anything, it's just helped me to feel like what I'm going through has a purpose. I think I have been given the trials that I've been given on purpose, because if I wasn't given them, I would not be where I am. I wouldn't be able to help people in the way that I can.
Yeah.
And so it just gives me it's so funny when I say this, because I can hear my dad in the back of my head being like, keep your blinders on. But like, it's helped me to keep my blinders on and see that there's a bigger picture other than just what is going on right now. Like, there's so much more than just this moment. And I've survived my hardest days so that I can get to my best days.
Yeah. I love that. It makes you realize there's a purpose behind all of this, the good and the bad, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I think that's why faith is so powerful and no matter, whoever's listening to this, whatever your faith may be, but how important that can be. We see it with even our clients, and, a lot of them come in here going, I don't believe in a higher power. And I know what I try to get them to go, hey, there should be some form of that. It's not, you don't have to go to church or anything,
right?
But there should be a form of, hey, there's something bigger and greater that has a plan for you.
Right.
Right. And, and I'm sure you see that with your clients too, that struggle with that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. There's a bigger picture out there. Like, life isn't just happening to you. It's happening for you, and however you want to see that.
Yeah. See, now you're speaking my language there. I love that. Well, you look at your life too and everything you've been through. I think that's why you're so good at what you do, because even if you go back to junior high and feeling like no one liked you, because we get a lot of people here that feel like no one cares about them, everyone's, written them off.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when they hear you can speak to their soul and their hearts, because you know what that feels like. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Like, I think honestly that belief of like nobody likes me or I'm on the outside really is what, like, I feel like encapsulates what I was feeling at such a young age. Because I mean, growing up in a family where I am 12 years behind all my siblings, I'm kind of on the outside. Like, I'm part of the family, but like I am separate also. Like, that has always followed me. So like, I look back and I see that as a pattern of like, yes, I'm part of the friend group, but I'm also on the outside of the friend group, or I'm on the team, but I'm like kind of followed me throughout my life of like, I'm in, but I'm not. Like, there's something different about me that keeps me on the outside. And I feel like having that with the clients, when I have clients that are like, I just don't connect with anybody. Nobody can connect with me. I'm different. I'm weird. Like, I'm like, yeah, me too. Like, let's be friends. We can connect, like, it's such a restricting belief when you see it that way, but I've had to alter it into like, no, like, I have something that I can offer. And like, yeah, maybe I feel like I'm on the outside, but that's me preventing myself from really connecting with people.
Yeah. Love that. What do you love about Devin?
Oh my gosh. Okay. You're getting me back for getting you to cry earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my gosh. What don't I love about Devin would be a better question.
Yeah,
He has this like light about him where he can do anything that he wants to do. Gosh dang it, Todd. Like,
sorry.
Okay, hold on. He came into my life exactly when I needed him the most. And he has continued to be like my point person through all the other trials that I've gone through. Like, our miscarriage, I cannot imagine going through that with anyone other than him. Like, he has bared me up during my darkest of times.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say he knows every single thing about me that nobody else knows, like my deepest, darkest secrets, my insecurities, like everything. And he loves me still. Yeah. And he is like that with every single person I've ever seen him meet. Like, he does not have a bad thing to say about anyone. He keeps me humble. He keeps me honest. Like, he's just he's one of a kind. Yeah.
Wow. Beautifully said. Shout out to Devin.
Yeah, you're the best.
Yes, that's so cool. Well, you guys are a fantastic couple. You can just tell that you guys are so in love, and I'm sure he probably says the same exact things about you. So. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. But you have a beautiful family, and it's just good. Like I said at the beginning, I love the way you carry yourself.
Thank you.
You do bring a really beautiful light to this place at Wasatch. We talk about it all the time when you're not around, and that tells you that we really do like you. Because that's your name is safe when you're not here. I just want you to know that. Like, why are we crying?
What is in the air in this room?
Jeez,
Todd?
What the heck's going on? But you really are. You're just. It's awesome to have you here, and I just love every client that I'm working with who you happen to be their therapist as well, we kind of tag team a little bit. They just can't say enough. I've never heard a negative like, oh, she doesn't know this or that. It's always just like, no, she's fantastic. She's perfect for me. So I hope you know that.
Yeah, that means the world to me to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. So, what do you love most about you?
Okay, Waterworks Central over here. Love most about me.
Yeah.
I love that I know that I can get through hard things. I know that I have worked really hard to be where I am.
Yeah.
And that I've earned my spot and where I'm at.
For sure.
I have gone through my fair share of battles by myself with people around me, and I have truly like battled to be where I'm at. And I love that I love serving people.
Yeah.
Like more than anything, like that is what I think is the best part of me, is that I love people and I love them as they are, whoever they are, however they choose to show up. Like I already love them.
Yeah.
And the more I get to know them, the more I love them even more. So
right.
I think that's the best part of me, is that I just have this enduring and truly unconditional love for the people around me and the people I get to meet every day.
Yeah. And the proof is that girl you helped in junior high that was struggling, that you wanted to help out. That's, that's you. That really is truly you. Beautifully said.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
Yeah.
If there's someone listening to your voice right now that's just in a dark place, they're struggling, they're not quite sure what to do with their life, or they just need some kind of a push in the right direction, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that you have survived your hardest days so far, and so there's more evidence to show that you can survive what you're going through now than there is to show that you can't. That you are more than capable of getting through this battle, this trial, whatever it is. Then you can do it, honestly. Like more than, like, if you can just believe that you can do it, you can do it. I wish that I had somebody to tell me that when I was in my darkest of time. And so I say that to my clients all the time, that there is proof that you can get through this because you've already gotten through all of your hardest days.
Yeah.
So what's so different about this one? Like, all you have to do is keep showing up for yourself, and you can do it. Honestly, like, you have yourself, and sometimes that sounds so lonely, but if you can show up for yourself, you have everyone that you need.
Wow, very good advice. I think that's beautifully said, honestly.
Just mic drop.
Mic drop. Yes. You like we said, you're a therapist up here at Wasatch Recovery. You're going to soon be doing a private practice,
right? Yes,
which is really cool. So everyone get in line.
Yeah,
line up. If someone wants to reach out to you and ask you a question about this podcast, even or have they need help, or they have a daughter who's struggling with their body image or whatever, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
You can reach out to me through email. So my email right now is Megs, MEGS SMART. So megsmart12 @gmail.com. Okay. Or I have just started my therapy Instagram. So it's _ Megan's Corner. MEGANSCORNER. Megan's Corner.
Love it. I got to follow that today. Heck yeah.
It's fresh and new, but that's where I will likely be like getting my clients from when I do start taking clients, which will be soon, but
Love that. And I encourage anyone listening to this right now who, if you have a daughter and or a son, but that's struggling with body image issues or any other issue, reach out to her and get on the waiting list, I guess, but she'll be doing that soon.
Yes.
But that'll be fantastic. Any other things you'd like to end with or to share with us before we wrap this up? It's been wonderful.
I'll get you back. Todd, what's your favorite thing about yourself?
Oh, are you serious? This isn't about me. I love that I love to help others as well. I do. I think that's one of my best qualities. And that's really why I do this Belief Cast, is that because I know it's going to help people.
Right.
And that brings me such satisfaction. So yeah, I'm grateful, because I used to be years ago, a drug addict. And when you're an addict, you become so self-centered and selfish, and And that is such a dark and ugly place to be. So to be on the other side of that and wanting to help others, I'm not perfect at it by any stretch, but I do love helping others. So I'd say that's probably the best thing.
That's why we get along, you
Yes,
know?
yeah, probably.
No, Todd, I think the world of you.
Thank you. That means a lot. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. Megan Smart-Relf, she's an amazing person, as you can, attest to for what she just said and how she carries herself. We love having her at Wasatch. I love being a coworker with her and just seeing her just doing all these great things with herself. It's awesome. And I'm so happy for you and your family and Devin.
Thank
Devin
you.
got a good shout out today.
Yeah.
And your beautiful daughter. So yeah, you guys are great. So I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. It was so awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks
Seriously.
for letting me be here and share my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I love this. I mean, I feel like edified right now. It's just amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I can go, run a marathon right now.
I know. It feels so good. So, hey, if you have a family member or a daughter or a son that's struggling, give them a link to this episode, and it's a great way to break the ice. And you can always follow back up with them. Hey, what'd you think of Megan's, Belief Cast? And it can open up a conversation if you're worried about doing that. And
Absolutely.
it'd be really helpful. So please do that. And I love you guys for tuning in week after week. I told you this was going to be great. And please reach out to Megan with any questions. You can reach out to me and I can obviously forward it to her as well. But thank you for everything, and the sponsors. Thank you for supporting me. So Megan, you're the best.
You're the best, Todd. Thank you.
Till next time, everyone. Take care.